Well, I'll start by a couple of denominational problems. I'm talking about La Belle Époque, which is also la fin du siècle, so the beautiful period, the end of the century. We don't really know, but it's a period that extends from the end of the Second Empire, so when Napoleon III had to surrender the keys of Paris to the Germans in 1870, starting a long tradition. And this period, the Third Republic, so huge Republican effusion, the surge of democracy, the surge of a modern mentality of the self as the most important element in the state. And you see here this scar on the French map because Germany took this Alsace Lorraine region, which was one of the most productive, efficient areas of the French industrial system. So, what did France look like in the 1870s? First, you have this network of railways bringing everything to the center, Paris. But even within Paris, you have the Paris Monumental. So this was the tourist map in the 70s. It's pretty much the same as today. You have these very large avenues leading to the most important monuments of the city. This leads to a destruction of the frontiers between the countryside, the center of the city, the people who lived in the slums, largely here, and those who lived in the nicest places here along the Seine. This happened thanks to massive modernization, the projects of the Baron Haussmann during the Second Empire, destroying the slums, building large avenues, making it extremely hygienic, beautiful, large avenues with trees, and it's also the site that we still have now with the immeuble haussmannien, and it's different, 5 levels that also matched 5 levels of society. The interesting thing is that this was a project of social mixity originally, just like the large avenues allowed people to circulate freely within the city. The immeuble haussmannien allowed the traders of the ground floor, the haute bourgeoisie of the second floor, the younger up-and-coming bourgeoisie here on the third floor, and the more working class of the fourth floor to live together, while the top floor was for the domestic servants. This led to a massive change in the life of the Parisians. So in terms of demographics, the population of Paris literally exploded. Between 1876 and 1881, the population increased by 14%. If you look at the population in 1886, it was mainly 2/3 of people who were not born in Paris living there. And by 1911, the population of Paris reached 2.9 millions. For reference, today it is 2.1 millions. So an extremely busy city. And you see this sequence of Tableaux Parisiens by Jean Béraud, everyone looking at the billboards and advertising everywhere. Because when you have a population like that, growing, producing, you also need to make them buy things. And these are the 3 pillars of a classical development economy: increase in the population, in the production, and in the commerce. So the pillar of that was les grands magasins, the department stores. I've selected 3 of them that are still alive and well today. Au Bon Marché and le Bazar de l'Hôtel de Ville were initially created during the Second Empire, but the Third Republic gave them that sudden boost. La Samaritaine was created in 1870, but it's still alive and well and had that slogan that you could hear in the 1970s adverts for it. On trouve tout à la Samaritaine. You could find everything at La Samaritaine. So what did these department stores bring? Usually when you wanted to buy a hat or a pair of gloves, you went to the milliner, to the glove maker, and you got exactly what you wanted. Now, with department stores, you might want to buy just a tiny handkerchief, but you come in, you enter, and you see that there's a sale on stockings, there's a sale on that new model of shoes, and you could also get your new hat made on the spot. And why not indulge in that entirely newly made tailored dress? So you enter for a tiny little thing, and you come out with your pockets virtually empty, but you're helping the economy. So we have a novel that gives a wonderful account for that. For once, I won't be speaking about Madame Bovary. I know other novels. So here's an account of the cathedral of the modern market in Zola's Au Bonheur des Dames. I think the English title is The Lady's Delight, Damsel's Delight, depends on how it's translated. So it's a novel that was serialized in 1883, describing this explosion of the department stores through the example of Octave Mouret, who had that genius idea of turning his own shop into a large department store thanks to his late wife's money. And he falls in love with Denise, a young woman who, like many young professional women, went to Paris to find a sort of level entry, working class job in her uncle's shop. So while Denise's uncle's shop collapses, Au Bonheur des Dames, the great department store, increases and grows. And here you have a description of Mouret's marketing strategy. Mouret appears as a sort of devil in the novel. He can lure everyone into temptation, especially women. So while he's obnoxious to all his employees, he falls in love with Denise, who appears as this new Eve who will crush him under her pretty little bottine and who will turn him into a good man. But we have this wonderful description of late 19th century marketing. The greatest power above all else was publicity. Mouret ended up spending 300,000 francs in catalogues, newspapers, adverts, and posters. For his summer season sale, he launched 200,000 catalogues, of which 50,000 abroad, translated in all languages. Now he had them illustrated in etchings. He even had fabric samples added, stick to the pages. It was an overflow of shop shelves. Au Bonheur des Dames was jumping at the eyes of the entire world, invading city walls, newspapers, even theatre curtains. His reason for that is that women can't resist a good ad. So you see how this expanded from Paris to everywhere else in the world. So Le Printemps in Bayonne, south of France. So if you're in France but not lucky enough to live in Paris, you still get your fix of a grand magasin. In Brussels, but even more interestingly, in Constantine, in French Algeria. So France exported this market model everywhere it could. And you see how the figure of the woman is central here. This is aspirational. Just like living in the same building as wealthy bourgeois could make you think, well, maybe one day I'll get there. Here, you can get the idea of what a fashionable dress could look like. So maybe it won't be the best quality fabric. Maybe it will be cheaply crafted, but you can look exactly like a fashionable Parisian lady. So what they understood was that desire is not just about to fulfill our needs, it is about fulfilling our desire for social status as well and representation. So you need these models telling you what you need to buy. This happened through two massive evolutions, through the newspapers and the posters on the walls. So you have this little encart in les magasins du Louvre. This is not a new thing. It started in the 17th century. La Gazette already had this commercial leaflet. So you'd buy your newspaper and also buy some ads with it. But Émile de Girardin in 1836 realized that newspapers operated in a double market. You sell your newspaper to the people who are going to read it, but you also sell your newspaper to advertisers who can put their own ads in it. And symmetrically, you have these posters everywhere, and I just love how everything is always the best and the most economical, so you get best of everything. And this became even more easy to make because of the increase in the quality of ink, paper, and glue. So you could stick things everywhere, so much so that the city of Paris ended up selling about 14,000 square meters of wall surfaces. That's the equivalent of about 4 football fields for advertising. It was not just about selling you things, it was also about selling you leisure, from working class bal populaire here, like when all these illustrations that have become almost a standard of Parisian tourism. So nowadays, Parisian tourists can get their Toulouse Lautrec mug with Aristide Bruant, but this used to be just on the wall because people had time to spend and they also had money to spend. So the the commercial culture was not just about items, it was also about spending quality time. So there's popular entertainment, of course, but also more highbrow things like the works of Alphonse Mucha, bringing together the sense of color, movement, and also drawing. So since the Impressionists, France was in crisis. What is the most important in painting? And Mucha said, well, why choose? You can have the three. You can have the beautiful lines, you can have the pretty pastel colors, and you can have the flowing movements. And he also created the first artist collaboration with the theatre actress Sarah Bernhardt, who became a popular star by these ads for her plays in her own theatre, drawn by Alphonse Mucha. What is surprising about this period is that ads for cigarette papers or for beers or for cookies were so beautiful. And in this one, you see Sarah Bernhardt giving her signature for the Lefebvre Utile biscuits. That's a brand that's still alive and well today, but you don't have any glamorous actress like Sarah Bernhardt trying to sell it to you. So this gave us the impression of an extremely beautiful society. When we look back at this era, it justifies the term Belle Époque. Everything seems to be so beautiful. But really, ads were everywhere. And in a certain way, it's not that different from what we are experiencing today. You could find ads from the strange practices for ladies in the brothels, or ads for transatlantic ships. So everything was for sale. And it created an impression of strange uneasiness, which was already foreseen by Villiers de l'Isle-Adam, who wrote a short story called L'affichage céleste, where an inventor found a way to project ads and even political posters onto the sky. I don't know if any French politician could think about that at the moment. It might be very timely. But there was this idea of using everything, turning everything into something mercantile. So the striking sentence in it is, finally, the sky will be good to something. It won't just be the land of the dreamers, but we can make money out of it. And Théophile Steinlein illustrated this short story in 1891, and he might be familiar to you because he also did this very famous Rodolphe Salis ad for La Tournée du Chat Noir. So he was at the core of the commercial culture and production of these beautiful images that get you to buy things. So, in short, this period of France was remarkably stable. The Third Republic lasted longer than the Fifth Republic, and I think it will end up lasting longer than the Fifth Republic if things go on like this. It was due to this democratization of desire. As long as you have the money to buy it, just go for it, it's fine, there are no more limits. But it also created this impression that now it's not just things or the space that is for sale, it is everyone walking by. People like you and I walking by, seeing an advertisement, we become for sale. And this was the unspoken hidden reality of the Belle Époque. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. What did it do to an artist's career to make advertising?
You mean as an artist?
Yes. Was it acceptable among his peers? And
it was. There was a bit of suspicion, but it is also undeniable that he made it beautiful. So artists like Toulouse Lautrec or Mucha were not shamed for producing commercial art. They were seen as people who were elevating the public space through inserting their talent into things that everyone could see. So there was also a democratization of the access to beauty, because even the ads were beautiful.
I mean, social commentators of the time, I mean, I guess it's difficult to generalize, but were they happy that more and even beautiful goods became available to a broader audience?
Well,
or was that the dominating factor, or the crass sort of commodification of
at the
society?
very same time. So for someone like Zola, who had a very strong Republican democratic drive, the idea was, yes, it is good that everyone could access these things, but even he was skeptical about this escalation of the marketplace becoming everything and engulfing everyone in it. Symmetrically, you'd find entire artistic currents, probably not as well known as the greater ones, but the decadents and the symbolists fiercely objected to this commercialization of beauty, and they tapped into Théophile Gautier's big saying in Mademoiselle de Maupin, everything that is useful is ugly, because it is meant to serve a purpose. So they were very skeptical about it. But their ideas did not really permeate the society, because you'd have to understand how gloomy things were in 1870 and how wonderful it was that all of a sudden money is circulating again. Even if you were working class, you could afford a decent housing in central Paris. So there was something optimistic about that period. And it's probably what led, in the hindsight, people in the 1930s referring back to it as the Belle Époque, because it was a time when everything seemed possible. At a price, but it was possible.
Still, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.